In today's video, I'm going to show you how I make these concrete vessels. So I'm starting with 3 cups of cement all and then this glob marble. It's like a really black. And I'm going to be adding 3 tablespoons. Just gradually incorporating the black pigments with the cement all before I add the water. It'll just help them to mix a little bit easier. And I'm gonna add in some distilled water. Don't really measure this out. I'm just kind of looking for that pancake batter consistency. And I don't like it too thick when I'm doing the metallic colors, or I will kind of lose the metal effect. It'll kind of get hidden if the batter is too thick, is what I've found. And I'm just smashing the clumps onto the side of the silicone bowl. I'll have all these products linked in the description box as well as in my Amazon storefront. But these bowls are really nice because you can reuse them over and over again. In the same case with the spatula. And the next thing I'm going to do is go in with some of this Deco Art Champagne acrylic paint. Just add a nice drizzle there on the top. Using my spatula to get a little bit of swirl in there, but being sure not to over mix. And as I'm pouring it into my vessel, I'm gently tapping just to kind of help that concrete mix flow into the container. And I will start 4 of these at once, so that way the acrylic paint won't get lost. I find that if I do them one at a time, that what happens is the acrylic paint flows mostly into the first one, and I do want to make sure that I have enough for all 4. So just adding in a little bit more there. And if you are newer at this, I might recommend starting with 1 at a time, just because it can be a little overwhelming to pour 4 at a time, but this is kind of how I've scaled my process a bit more. And sometimes you'll see me kind of spinning the silicone mold around. Other times I will be just keeping it in one place, just kind of depending on what I want. It'll change the patterning a little bit of the gold paint. And sometimes you'll get little clumps at the top. What I like to do is just use my spatula, and if they're too big, I will just remove them. Even after I mixed for several minutes, you'll still see little clumps here and there, but you can just remove them, or if they're small enough, just kind of, I will just smash them against the silicone. What I'm looking to do here is tap out any air bubbles and also get the batter flush with the top of the mold. And that will help to minimize the sanding that I'll need to do once these are out. Just tapping and and trying to get the molds filled flush with the top, and then also continuing to remove any small clumps that I see, because that will all help to minimize the sanding just to create a more seamless finish on the product. I will say as well that this black pigment is very, very saturated. It's like almost like toner for a printer, and I learned the hard way when I opened it in my house and ended up spending about 3.5 hours cleaning up what seemed like just a little dust, but the particles are probably about the same weight as air, if not a little bit lighter, and they tend to go all over, kind of like if you've ever worked with solid surfactants. And I'm not worrying too much about the bits that I have on the molds themselves. Those won't affect the jar at all, but I'm just looking to get the material as flush as possible and without air bubbles. Um, well, I shouldn't say without air bubbles, but with minimal air bubbles. And I will go around with just a paper towel to wipe off any excess, but again, not worrying about what's around the edges of the mold, just focusing on the vessels themselves. And you will have a little bit of extra batter if you follow this formula. Um, so I wanted it to be so that if you spilled, you wouldn't be totally out of mix. But this is the next day here, and I'm just unmolding the vessels. What I like to do is get the silicone kind of around that top lip on all of them. And then what I'll do is go through and pull it all the way up and then twist off to remove it. Oh my goodness, I love how these come out. Each one is so unique. If you would like, I can do a video on how I sand them. I do use a bit of a different process than I've seen. I actually use a pottery wheel so that I can wet sand them. Um, and then if you'd like to see a video on how I seal them, I will link one of my videos in the description box for that, as well as above, but I will probably be doing an updated video on how I seal my concrete containers, because there are some things that have changed a little bit. But if you did enjoy this one, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. I'm sending all of you peace, love, and light, and I'm wishing all of you happy candle making.